Here's a look at each global setting in CLOCKstep. MIDI In Enabled determines whether CLOCKstep will listen for commands to control it remotely. MIDI In Channel is the MIDI address assigned to CLOCKstep. MIDI Thru Enabled controls whether CLOCKstep will let all incoming messages pass through. Those are the typical settings we expect to see for any MIDI device. Now settings will get a little more specialized. Send MIDI clock determines if MIDI clock will be sent at all. With this option off, the clock is still running internally and all the features work, but no other device will see that clock data. Why would you want to turn off MIDI clock in a MIDI clock pedal? Well, you could use this pedal as a metronome only, or perhaps you have another MIDI clock in your setup, but you still want to use CLOCKstep's other commands. Fine-tune allows for very minor adjustments to the calculations that mark time. Every clock or watch will run at a slightly different rate according to an internal reference. It's the very reason why concepts like MIDI clock exist in the first place, so that other devices can follow the timing of a master device and they'll all stay in sync. No adjustment here is required, but if you have a specific desire to make the CLOCKstep you purchased conform more closely to some external measurement, you can use this setting to help dial that in. We'll actually be measuring and setting the fine-tune of each device we send out, so don't be surprised if you look at this setting and it already has a value other than 0. We know that it's not always desirable to add yet one more pedal with flashing lights to a pedal board. So Clock LED Enable turns on or off the yellow and red flashing lights that visualize tempo. The next two choices are meant to increase the level of cooperation with other MIDI pedals. When Send Bar Marker is enabled, CLOCKstep will send out a standard MIDI message to indicate the start of a new bar. This could be used as an extra layer of synchronization, or even allow other MIDI controllers to implement their own version of a cued command by listening for this signal to come from CLOCKstep. Send Time Signature is another MIDI standard to set another device's time signature. The time signature will be sent when you load a preset in CLOCKstep. The Aerospy Singular Sound is one device that listens for time signature commands. The next few options relate to the user interface for CLOCKstep. By default, navigation is slowed down a bit to provide visual feedback so you know what's happening. As you become more familiar with CLOCKstep, you can choose to speed things up. Show Save screens can turn on or off all screens that indicate something is being saved. Show Load screens can turn on or off the preset loading screen. Show Info screens can turn on or off the various screens that happen during navigation. Factory Reset will erase every setting in the pedal and return it to its default factory state. There are several prompts to go through, so it can't happen accidentally. And finally, you either need to save your changes or exit without saving.